Good morning. Today we're going to read probably the most famous Solomon story. So it just has one reading, 1 Kings 3:16 through 28. So pause me and turn to 1 Kings 3:16 through 28 and read. Okay, this is the story of the two prostitutes. There is some discussion among the commentaries that maybe this was translated wrong and they're really tavern keepers, but most of them seem to think that they were prostitutes. There's no husbands mentioned, and they probably would have been if they had had husbands. And the fact that they were alone indicates that they didn't have any servants even at any time. They probably had midwife type people come in to deliver the babies, but that would have been a very temporary, here's the baby, boom, I'm gone, and any midwives probably didn't notice the difference in the babies. They just delivered the babies, and midwife is a loose term for that. So this case had probably been in the lower courts, the way the court system was set up at that time. So some people think that this was included because it shows two things. One, that Solomon was wise. And two, that Solomon was not aloof. He wasn't just, I'm going to do the high-profile cases and judge those. He was willing to judge a case of two prostitutes. But this had probably been in the lower courts, and so we don't really know the age of the child at this point. So these two women really loved their children, and even though they were illegitimate, they both wanted a child, which is kind of crazy because it would have been cheaper to bury a child than to raise a child. But they both wanted children, which is kind of a different cultural thing than you might expect at that time, especially of prostitutes. So they wanted this child. And Solomon did have other ways to find out the truth. He could have tortured these women until one of them gave up and told the truth. But again, his wisdom kind of shows here, because that would just mean that the stronger one would have won. So he's looking at their countenance. He's trying to decide what to do. And there's no precedent in the law for a case like this. Now, back in Exodus 21:35, there is a little verse that says, if one man's ox kills another man's ox, the men are to sell the live ox and divide the money. But nothing about babies, and nothing that comes close to this situation. So commentators tend to think that he kind of knew who the mother was, but he didn't have any proof. He didn't have any special way of knowing other than his wisdom. And he was wise enough to know that he needed a confirmed conclusion here. So he says, divide the child. And of course the real mother says, no, I would rather this other woman raise my child than for my child to be dead. And the wisdom here is just unbelievable if you think about it. And all of Israel saw that Solomon had God-given divine wisdom. So that's our reading for today. Tomorrow we turn to the start of building the temple.